3 adults, a laptop screen, 2 in the morning. Nobody said a word for almost 4 minutes. What they were watching was security footage from a camera mounted above a front door in a quiet suburb outside Columbus, Ohio. Nothing exploded. Nobody got hurt. But by the time the clip ended, one of those 3 people, a woman named Natalie Cross, quietly stood up, walked to the kitchen sink, and ran cold water over her wrists because her hands had gone completely numb. She'd had that camera for over a year. She had never once checked the footage. Her dog had been trying to warn her for 3 weeks, and she'd spent the entire time assuming he was reacting to raccoons. Orrin was not an anxious dog, not even a little. Fireworks on the 4th of July, he stayed on his bed. Thunderstorms, he slept straight through them. The neighbors once had a full screaming argument in their driveway at 10 at night, and Orrin didn't move from the couch. Natalie had joked genuinely that he had a calmer nervous system than she did, which is exactly why, when his behavior changed, it couldn't be explained away as personality. Something had changed, and Orrin had already registered it. It started on a Tuesday in late October. Natalie came home from her shift and found Orrin at the front door, not lying down, sitting upright, alert. He looked at her face the moment she stepped inside. Then his eyes moved past her, to the door behind her, and stayed there. She thought, off day. She went upstairs. The next morning he wasn't in his usual spot near the bottom of the stairs. She found him in the hallway, lying with his head aimed at the front door, watching it. By the end of that week it had become a pattern. Every morning, every evening, Orrin near the door, or facing it from across the room, or standing at the front window with his paws on the sill. Never barking, never whining, just watching with a flat, focused attention that didn't look like curiosity. It looked like waiting. Natalie mentioned it to Cora. Cora said probably a raccoon or a stray cat. Reasonable. Natalie accepted it. Then Cora came home one afternoon and said, without Natalie bringing it up first, "He keeps doing this thing at the window, like he's waiting for something specific." Orrin was at the living room window, front paws on the sill, staring at the empty street with the kind of stillness that made the back of her neck prickle. "Has he barked?" she asked. "Once," Cora said. "Last night, around midnight, 1 bark. Then nothing." Natalie had slept through it. She filed it away. What she didn't know, what neither of them could have known, was that someone had already walked up their driveway twice that week. Not at noon, not by accident. Twice, in the middle of the night. Deliberately. Orrin had known both times. The security camera had been above the front door since the previous spring. Natalie had set it up after a neighbor's car was broken into. Confirmed it worked, and never opened the app again. It had been recording to a local drive ever since. 3 weeks of footage sitting there untouched. Her brother Marcus came for dinner that Sunday. He noticed things. That was just how he was wired. And what he noticed first, before the food was even on the table, was the dog. The way Orrin kept repositioning himself between the hallway and the living room. The way his ears tracked every car that passed outside. "That dog is monitoring something," Marcus said. Natalie laid out the raccoon theory. Marcus listened. Then, almost casually, he asked when she'd last checked her security footage. She said she hadn't. Not once. He pulled her laptop across the kitchen counter, found the app, and started going back through the archived footage. He found the first clip and stopped talking entirely. 3 separate nights. All of them after midnight. Night 1, 12 days earlier. The exact week Orrin's behavior had started. Timestamp, 1:47 a.m. A figure walking up the front path, stopping at the porch steps, and standing there, not looking around, not acting nervous. 41 seconds, completely still, facing the front door. Medium height, dark jacket, something held at their side, a bag or a case. Hard to tell. Night 2, 5 nights after that. The figure came up the driveway differently this time, staying close to the edge, moving toward the side fence gate, stood there for over a minute, then left. No hurry, no reaction when a car passed a block over. Night 3, 4 nights before Marcus found any of it. 2:12 a.m., the figure walked all the way to the front door and tried the handle. It was locked. They stood for 30 more seconds, then walked away at the same unhurried pace, not rattled, not rushed, like this was fine, like they had every intention of coming back. Natalie thought about the morning after that third night. She had stepped over Orrin to grab her keys off the hook by the door. He had been lying there with his head up, watching her. She'd said, "Move, bud," and he shifted just enough to let her pass. He had known someone had been at that door 4 hours earlier. He had been at that door every single morning since the whole thing started. And she had spent 3 weeks looking for a raccoon that didn't exist. She called the police that evening. Report filed. Patrols increased. Marcus fixed the gate latch the same day. None of it felt like enough. Cora didn't fall apart. She just quietly changed her routine. Home before dark, a text when she arrived anywhere, no questions asked. Orrin kept his post. A week passed. Then 2. The camera didn't record anything. Natalie started sleeping again and told herself whoever it was had moved on. That was the mistake. 23 days after Marcus found the original footage, Natalie opened the app to check a routine delivery alert. Nothing unusual. But while she was in there, she noticed an unopened alert from 2 nights earlier she had completely missed. She almost closed the app without clicking it. She didn't. The timestamp was 4:33 a.m. on the porch, sitting on the top step, back straight, completely still, staring toward the street, was Orrin. He was outside. He was not supposed to be outside. Natalie locked the dog door every single night. She was certain about that. She watched the clip 3 times. The latch on the dog door was stiff, but not impossible. If he pushed hard enough, he could force it. She scrolled back and watched him come out, walking from the side of the house around the corner, straight to the front step. No hesitation. Sat down, stayed there for 25 minutes facing the street, completely still. Then at 4:58 a.m. he stretched in a long, slow arc and went back the way he came. She might have filed that away. A dog being unpredictable in the middle of the night. Except she checked the neighborhood app that afternoon and found a message from Philip, a retired teacher 2 doors down with cameras on both sides of his house. One sentence, "Natalie, caught this on my side camera around 4:30. Thought you should see it." The attached image was grainy. It was also unmistakable. The figure in the dark jacket, standing at the far end of the street at 4:30 in the morning. Not approaching. Just standing there, looking toward the house from a distance. The same night Orrin had forced the door open, walked directly to the front step, and sat down where he could be seen from the street. Marcus said it before Natalie could form the words herself. She called him immediately, and after a long pause, he said, "He went out to be seen." He put himself between the house and whoever was standing out there. No barking, no aggression, no dramatics. The dog had simply made himself a visible, calm, planted presence at the threshold and stayed there for 25 minutes, until whatever he was responding to was gone. Natalie knew in that moment that Orrin had done something she and every adult around her had failed to do for nearly a month. He had stayed alert after everyone else had relaxed, and then he had acted on his own. She forwarded everything to the detective. The new footage, Philip's image, the complete timeline. The detective asked if she had any idea who the figure might be. This is where the story turns. There was someone, a former co-worker, a friendship that had started normally enough, shared lunches, easy conversation during slow shifts, but had gradually tipped into something that made her uneasy. His messages had become more frequent, then more personal, then just too much. She hadn't confronted it. She'd done what a lot of people do. Gone quieter, responded less, hoped the slow withdrawal would be enough without requiring a conversation she didn't want to have. She gave his name to the detective. She felt guilty doing it. She told herself she might be wrong. She wasn't. A restraining order was issued. He didn't contest it. He moved out of the area entirely 4 months later. The camera alerts on Birchwood Drive went quiet. But here's the part Natalie can't fully explain, the part she keeps coming back to. After the restraining order was in place, she went through the entire stored archive, as far back as the camera had footage. She wanted a complete timeline. She needed to know when it had actually started. The first time the figure appeared on her camera was October 9th. Oren's behavior had changed on October 8th. She checked the dates 3 times. The dog had started his watch 1 full day before any of it was ever recorded on camera. Whatever he detected, a scent left during an earlier visit, some shift in the air around the house, something without a name in any field she knows of, he had registered it before the camera did. By a full day, Natalie still lives on the same street. The camera is still above the front door, and she checks it now the way she checks a smoke detector. Not obsessively, just consistently, because she's learned what the cost of not checking looks like. Oren still sometimes spends the night near the front of the house. She no longer tries to interpret every time he does it. Some habits form for real reasons, and just stay. Last spring, Natalie and Cora were sitting on the porch after dinner, watching Oren settle into a patch of late sunlight at the edge of the yard. Cora was quiet for a moment, then said, "Without any drama at all, he never needed us to believe him. He just kept doing his job anyway." Natalie didn't say anything back. She thought that was the most accurate thing either of them had ever said about the whole experience. This story isn't really about security cameras. It's not even only about dogs. It's about what happens when comfort makes us blind. Oren had none of that history weighing on him. Something changed and he responded to it, every single day without giving up, until someone finally asked the right question. The camera recorded everything. But Oren knew before the camera did. Drop a comment below. What do you think Oren understood that night he walked out and sat on that front step? Was it pure instinct or something more deliberate? We read every single one. If this story stayed with you, hit like before you scroll. It takes 1 second, and it genuinely helps other people find this channel. Subscribe if you're not already here. The next story is already being built, and you won't want to come in cold. Oren is doing well, by the way. Still big, still calm, still keeping watch.